how about this? We treat humans like humans and let them let them excel.
Vacation all ever wanted. Vacation had to get away. Kirby, that's what I'm thinking about as we start off episode number 162 of the Promo UPFront podcast. I need a vacation, but as of right now, I am still one of your co-hosts for this fine podcast. My name is Bill Petrie. With me as always, let's call him the emperor of the expansion, the one and only Kirby Hasseman. Kirby! How the green golf shirt are you?
I'm doing well. I actually don't generally like green, but my daughter ordered this as a sample, and I really like it. It's very comfortable.
Please tell me it was jade.
Yeah, jade.
Yes,
yeah.
Jade is a shade of green.
Yeah, that's right. And so anyway, I'm doing really well. Things are rocking and rolling. Trying to keep things. We've noticed an uptick in August, which I like.
Good.
So yeah, things are going well, buddy. How about you?
Things are good. Just super busy. We're getting kids shipped off to school, back to college. Drew leaves today for Mississippi State. Mitch will leave next week for Alabama. And so a lot of things going on right now. But like I said, I need vacation. I'm kind of daydreaming a little bit about what that might look like. And, Kirby, things often get me to thinking about other things. And, this got me thinking about suppliers that make it easy for us to work with them. And I don't know about you, but in my spare time, I like to review Sage ratings. I know that sounds wild and wacky, but I do. Call it a hobby, call it a pastime, call it whatever you want. But those Sage ratings really help me understand what suppliers really do get it. Given that background, Kirby, I want to share a few comments that really just jumped off the digital screen for me when I was reading them because they really struck me. And even more, they're all referring to the exact same supplier. So are you ready for this?
I'm ready, yeah.
A pleasure to work with. Amazing. Always a great experience. Attentive to every detail. Now, Kirby, armed with those quotes, I have zero doubt you can guess which supplier they're all talking about.
That's got to be Evans. That's like a no-brainer, right?
Kirby, again, if I had a Twinkie, I would give you one. I don't, but I'm giving you a virtual Twinkie because, yes, you deserve a prize. Absolutely, Kirby. Working with Evans is an absolute no-brainer. As part of the HPG family of supplier brands, Evans continues to build, develop, and encourage a culture where their entire ethos is to make it easy to work with them. I know that's really important when you're choosing a supplier, Kirby, to work with. Why is that so important to you, and why is working with Evans so important with you?
Well, again, I've said many times that I am in the business of making promises for other people. And I want to be in business with people who keep their promises, and obviously not only keep their promises, but do it in a way that is frictionless. That's something that you talk about a lot. And so, for me to not only build my business, but build it in a way that I can then continue to build my business because I'm letting the great supplier do what they do best. That's a wonderful thing.
Kirby, I couldn't agree more. I mean, there might be more. I just couldn't agree more because that's just such an agreement statement I have there. So distributors, when you're ready to move the usual friction, just remove it out of your life. Just like what Kirby was talking about, remove that usual friction that slows you down when working with other suppliers. Head over to evans-mfg.com and experience how the good folks at Evans will absolutely work their tails off to make your life easier. All right, Kirby, this is episode number 162. I have the honor of having the upfront section today, and it's an honor. At the outset, I called you the Emperor of Expansion, and I saw this little nugget. It's probably gonna be a quick topic, and that's okay. I saw that Spector Company is expanding into the United States. I don't know if you're aware of this. So they opened a new facility in Las Vegas after solely operating in Quebec, Canada for 70 years. And they're even moving personnel to the United States. Ashley Coletti is and her husband, Jared, they're migrating from Canada and moving to Las Vegas. They see the benefits as coast-to-coast coverage. They have a real great collaboration, at least what I've seen online in the pictures, a collaboration area, almost like a showroom, where people can go in and get some team expertise. And I love the location in Vegas, by the way, especially with Expo. Probably people going early and see that.
Yeah.
And then faster sample requests because they will
sense.
have a shipping point in Las Vegas, the United States. So I want to get your thoughts on that. Do you see that as something that is something necessary for a Canadian supplier to do to grow their business? And I wanted to get your take on that from a distributor perspective.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say necessary, but do I see it as an advantage? Absolutely. Anytime what's the first? I think one of the first questions you're asking when you meet with a new supplier is, okay, where do you ship out of? How quick can you get the product to me? It's just one of the things we have to deal with on a daily basis. So, and I've heard you talk about this. The best suppliers do all the basic things right. They've got cool product. They do the decoration right, stuff like that. Well, if it doesn't make it to the destination in time, this is a pointless exercise, and we've wasted everybody's time and money. And so
100%.
the reality of it is if you can ship out of someplace, FOB in the United States, that's going to be a quicker delivery to many people, obviously more on the West side. But yeah, that catches my attention. And by the way, as a side note, I'm always impressed when any organization, distributor, supplier outside of the industry makes a capital expenditure like this that is that's such a statement of, hey, not only are we bullish on the industry, we're bullish on you know what I mean? It is a statement of faith. And so kudos to them.
That's the one thing I had latched onto. The word I was using is investment use, capital expenditure, same thing. We're just parsing words at this point. That type of investment is an absolute statement. And Spector has really done some amazing things over the last couple of years with hiring some key personnel. They've kind of got a dream team up there that Sam Cates has assembled. They've got some great people in Ashley and Arena Ashfield from, so it's really a bold statement saying we are staking a claim in a different, not only a different city, different country. So I love it. One other quick hit. So let's shift gears. We both agree on that. Let's call this the promo quick hits. I don't know if you saw the ASI state of the industry report. I did. I glanced through it.
Yeah, I apologize.
And one thing jumped out at me. Maybe we'll do a deeper dive on the whole thing next week. I don't know. That's a tease that we just don't even know what we're going to talk about next week. This is one statistic, and I want to get your take on it. 97% of distributors said that they were, quote, concerned about suppliers raising prices. And more than half of those, 53%, said they were extremely concerned. What are your thoughts on suppliers raising prices, Kirby?
Yeah, I think it is. I think distributors who are not concerned are being of course you should be concerned because your customers are going to be concerned. And now that being said, that doesn't mean that I think suppliers are wrong for doing it. The cost of everything, including milk and whatever, has gone up. I think one of the things you and I've talked a lot about is the idea of communicating. And so we've started probably not consistently enough talking to clients about, look, the cost of everything is going up. And I actually had a conversation with another distributor, last week at a golf outing. And he was like, man, it's harder and harder to maintain margin. That was something he said. And it was fascinating to me because I was like, I just kind of took it in. I didn't agree, disagree. But I think during inflationary periods, having thought about it a little bit after they said it is harder and harder to maintain margin in inflationary periods when you're being reactive. It's really, really hard because if even just repeating calendars that have done for years and years and years, and all of a sudden there's a 60% bump, man, customers do push off. But I would say that it's more important than ever to be on the front end of the sales conversation, because I think there is less of a pushback when you are pushing things, not pushing, but presenting things that are new and innovative. And then there's less of a conversation around the inflation.
Yeah, no, I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I want to push back a little bit. I don't think there's reason for concern. I think the concern is that everything is what you said. Every price is going up.
Yeah.
And for people, singling out, I am concerned that suppliers are raising their prices. Well, the cost of their goods is
Of course.
going up. The cost of
Yeah,
the raw materials is going up. So that, as we always say, shit rolls downhill.
sure.
So to me, again, you hit it again, Kirby. We are 100% in sync today, which is making me very tense. It's the communication to your clients. It says, look, everything unfortunately is going up, including the cost of the raw materials necessary to create the promotional products you want. So please understand that the prices are going up, but it's also an opportunity for distributors, in my mind, to, like you said, when you're reactive, you are going to see your margins erode because you're playing defense.
Yeah.
What you can say is, look, cost of goods are going up. What we need to do to get in front of this is plan ahead. What do you have coming up over the next 6 months? How can the more time we have to plan, the more creative I can get within your budget, and the more cost effective we can make your promo. We're not going to have any sort of fire drills at the last minute. We're not going to have compressed timelines and things like that. So not that that's going to mitigate the cost of goods. Cost of goods are what they are.
Yeah, sure.
But it might give you that opportunity to play offense. And again, what do we want to be seen as promotional products distributors? You want to be seen as a forward-thinking business person. Yeah. By being reactive, you're not doing that. You're just panicking with everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah,
be forward thinking and have those conversations.
Sorry. Agreed. I think we agree, and maybe we are again parsing words a little, but you asked if I'm concerned. And yeah, sure. And I don't think it's irresponsible to be concerned.
No.
And but the other piece I'd say though is and you know this, no matter how much I communicate, I can write blogs, I can send emails, I can do videos, and there's going to be a percentage of my clientele who don't listen to it at all until they go to buy t-shirts and then go, what the hell? Right. And so it's a concern. But I do not blame. This is not a shot at suppliers at all, but it's a concern.
I have the same concern, but to me, it's more of a it's a nationwide or global concern. Sure. It's not a specific targeted concern because of our industry. Everything's going up. Salt is going up, for crying out loud.
Yeah, so, no, agreed. Eggs at one point, you couldn't afford to buy eggs. Yeah, 100%.
Right.
But I really like what you said though, just really quickly to put a button on it, is to say, but when you say, hey, this is an opportunity to go, and like I made a mental note to say, okay, this is, because it's a thing that is in my mind right now, Bill, is we need to get back in front of some of these conversations. So what do those conversations look like? It's about saying, hey, that's a way for you to create the conversation so that you're not just checking in.
Right. And for the people who don't listen, who don't read your blogs, who don't respond to meeting requests and things like that, when they do have that last minute response and it is going to be expensive and they have sticker shock, that's an opportunity to say, this is what I've been really hoping to have a conversation with you before this. I'm sorry, this is where we're at, but moving forward, we can mitigate this by doing that.
Yeah.
And that's a great opportunity. Always an opportunity for conversation. All right, Kirby, I have a quick question for you.
Okay.
Don't you wish there was an outdoor blanket that was water resistant?
I do.
I've got a follow-up question. Don't you wish that same blanket featured edge-to-edge sublimation for decorating complex images?
That would be so cool.
It really would. Hold on. I'm shuffling. I've got another follow-up question, Kirby. Don't you wish that same blanket had no setup charges and EQP pricing for 24 pieces?
That would be unbelievable.
It's well, believe it now, sir, because you can thank our friends at Kanata Blanket, because their Epicolor Tech Explorer blanket can deliver all of that and so much more. So check them out at kanatapromo.com. You're not going to be sorry you did. All right, Kirby, regale us with a topic of your choosing.
So this is a last minute topic. I was thinking about different topics I could bring up this morning. And I actually was considering, about a topic. And, most of the time we don't know what we're talking about, but every once in a while we'll reach out to each other and say, hey, I'm thinking of bringing this up. I don't want to blindside you.
Especially if there's some sort of controversy.
Yeah. And this is not. Okay. So don't, you can declench. But I didn't email you this morning, as you know, because I was like, no, Bill doesn't like it when I do that. The day of the podcast.
I do not. It's not the day of the podcast. Whenever I get an email from you about, hey, I'm thinking of bringing this up, it's like 40 minutes before we're starting to record. Yeah, it's a deep thought. And I'm like, my brain's still on low fuel.
Yeah, totally. But that's when I'm doing prep for this podcast. And so this is the point of this conversation. You, on the other hand, I think prep days in advance, right? So And sometimes I try to have like a little card where if I see a topic that I think, oh yeah, that's perfect, I'll put it there. But I spend most of my time, 5:30 in the morning, the morning of the podcast, thinking about, okay, this is what I want to talk about today. I say that to say that there's not like one way to do it, right?
No, not at all.
So we've talked about this in the past, but I thought it'd be interesting to bring it up. Where do you, and I've got a couple if you want me to go first, but where is it that you get inspiration for topics? Now, is it, and this might be for this particular podcast or for your blogs, that sort of thing. Give me a couple places where you're like, okay, I need some ideas, and maybe start with this podcast, because like, where am I going to look for ideas for this?
Yeah, so good thing. So I generally just, you shared how you prepare.
Yeah,
I generally prepare the afternoon before.
Okay.
I try to give it as much time as I can for any sort of big industry news that might drop, so we're as close as possible to that. And then once I set it to bed, Kirby, you'll know when I'm done when I send you some of the graphics that we use for the podcast. So that's when I'm done preparing.
Yep.
And so I probably need to do a better job of being on the fly like you are in the morning of the podcast.
No, it's different. And so can I just say, almost always when you send me that, my initial mental space is, oh shit, I'm not ready for that right now. But like, because I'm not ready to think about that yet, but neither of us are wrong. Like, that's my point. Okay?
No, it's just the way I manage my week. So
same.
Where do I get my topics? So the promo stuff's pretty easy. ASI news, PPAI news, promo marketing on occasion, things like that. If I don't have enough topics that I've just seen throughout my week, so as I read news online, as I see things float across the transom, as it were, whether it's email or something else, I'll make a note of that's interesting to talk about. It applies to the podcast. So I keep a running list on these sheets. I mean, I do actually prepare, as I'd like to joke with people. It takes a lot of work to look this unprepared for a podcast. So I kind of keep a rolling thing of topics. As far as the blog and things like that, that's usually in the moment. I'll hear a phrase, or I'll think of something, or something's really irritating me, or
that's a good point.
To me, that's much more of I have to strike when the iron's hot. So not to say that I have an idea, everything falls by the wayside, but when I have an idea for a blog, I immediately open up a Word document, because I do use Word for that stuff, and I write out the title, because I always write from the title down. I think you know that. And I know what I want to say, and I'll write a couple, like 3 or 4 sentences or 3 or 4 nuggets, and then I'll build around that. So I'll put the bones down, and then I get that down, and then I'll get back to it when I'm done with this project, or maybe I'll do it right then if it's timely. So to me, it's I don't go to specific searches or anything like that. Occasionally on the podcast, if there's not much going on, I'll do a marketing news search. I'll look at Marketing Brew, which I get every day. I'll look at Fast Company and things like that, but nothing hard and fast. It's just whatever fills 30 minutes is pretty much my goal.
No, it's totally fair. And I think we have some overlap here. ASI Central for sure. Like from whenever I have the Promo UPFront topic, I'm like, okay, I got to go to PPAI and I've got to go to ASI. They both do great job on covering the industry. The Morning Brew. So, okay, let me back up. LinkedIn for years was my
it was your go-to.
Yeah, and I still do that. And I went there this morning just kind of looking. But the other one is the Morning Brew. There's Marketing Brew and there's Morning Brew. For whatever reason, I get more out of the Morning Brew, which is a week or a daily newsletter that kind of delivers the news. And often if there's a big branding or marketing topic, it makes the headlines, and then I can dig deeper.
I can only handle one brew at a time. So I'm proud of you for able to consume multiple brews.
Well, sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. Podcasts I'm listening to is another place and those are more just like random ideas, like, oh, those are like personal development. And then the final one that I was thinking about, and this is for blogs, this is for videos I do, and often for the podcast, is what am I currently struggling with?
Okay.
That is actually
I like
where
that.
I come up with a lot of, okay, what advice would I give myself? What advice am I giving my sales team? What
Yeah.
are the things that I'm working on or that I'm struggling with? And that actually often helps me come up with ideas for
Yeah.
content, because I think it's one of those where when you know it well enough to explain it and teach it, you tend to know it better. Does that make sense?
No,
And so,
I totally agree.
yeah. So,
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, that's it. Those are sort of where I come up with those ideas, and so I was just curious to
Yeah.
see if that's evolved for you over time.
It does. I mean, when it comes to the blog, especially, the blog is not this hard and fast thing. Sometimes it is about business. Sometimes it's about just me. Sometimes it's about personal stuff. I never know what it's going to be about from one week to the next. So a lot of times that is in the moment something I'm struggling with, and how do I get over that? How do I handle that? So there's some definite overlap there. I probably need to dig into market or morning brew a little bit more. That tends to be a nanosecond delete for me for whatever reason. Just but I need probably to focus on that. That's good stuff. All right, Kirby.
Cool.
So I have something I have a whole bunch of departments over here. You can't see them off screen, but we talk about preparing for the podcast. Sometimes I'll see something and I'll file it in certain departments.
Yeah.
This one came out of the Irony is Delicious department, Kirby.
Oh, I bet I know exactly what you're going to talk about. I hope so, because it's one of my topics.
Zoom is ordering employees back to the office. That's right.
That was my next topic if it wasn't yours. That's funny.
Excellent. So they're enforcing a structured hybrid approach. Employees that live near an office need to be on site count them 2 days a week, because it's, quote, most effective for the video conferencing service. In a company statement, they stated, well, that's what a statement does, doesn't it? It states, as a company, we are in a better position to use our own technologies, continue to innovate, and support our global customers with this approach. We'll continue to leverage the entire Zoom platform to keep our employees and dispersed teams connected and working efficiently. So it's a trend we're seeing, especially in tech companies. Google has done this, Salesforce has done this, Amazon's done this.
Yep.
Not surprising. Been a bit of a pushback from the employees, Kirby. So, it's interesting because we're seeing we've COVID brought everybody go home, and then out of COVID, nobody wanted to go back to work to an office. They were comfortable working from home. And then you see the rise of companies like WeWork that are co-location, individual office things. Now, WeWork, for example, they're really struggling because so many companies have forced people back to the office. They have substantial doubt, and that's what they quote. Substantial doubt exists about their ability to stay in business, because
which means they're about to go bankrupt. Yeah.
Correct. Their stock is down 85% this year. So I have two questions for you. Count them two. Number one, what do you think of this move and trend? And number two, why is it important to work in an office? Or is it important to work in an office? I have answers to these if you want, but I'll chat my yupper if you'd like to go.
Yeah. Like a lot of things, I think this is complex. So I think what's important to note is that I am a person who likes to work from an office, right? Yeah. I think I've said repeatedly, I love the ability to work from home. I don't want to be forced to work from home.
Correct.
And now, that being said, I think the same is one of the things I struggle with almost everything in life is when somebody says, this is the solution that works for everybody. Those people are always full of shit. Always.
Correct.
I'm not an always never person. One size does not fit all when it comes to diet, when it comes to fitness, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to work. One size does not fit all. One of my best friends from high school, introvert, great guy. He has been remote working. He works for Nationwide. He's an IT guy and has proven over 20 years he works from home. Effective. Yeah. And I think if you put him in an office, it would decrease his effectiveness. I think I'm more effective. Where I struggle with is, and I kind of get what they're doing, but okay, it's got to be 2 days. It's got to be structured. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. I actually understand it because you want, as you have said, you want to create those accidental collisions, and I get that. But dude, how about this? We treat humans like humans and let them excel the way that they can excel. I don't understand. So our team is the people who work in my office tend to want to be in.
Yeah.
We have remote sales team. But the moment Dustin says, hey man, I need to work from home today, see ya.
Right.
Like, I think we need to do more of that. And not try to make it, well, Tuesdays and Thursdays, this is what we do. And by God, you're going to have happy hour after Thursdays because we're going to have some goddamn fun, whether you like it or not. Like,
Right.
To me, that's where this is all broken. I don't think it's the death knell of Zoom because they're asking people to come in and work sometimes. It's irony for sure. But anyway, that's probably a longer answer than you wanted, but I just think there's not one size fits all.
No, I agree. Something I say a lot is I don't love when people speak in absolutes, always, never, things like that. And you touched on that. I think what I struggle with this type of move is you're trying to fit everybody. You're trying to treat everybody equally. And I'm sorry, perhaps I subscribe to the Bill Parcells, who's a football coach, if you don't know, rule of leadership. Not everybody gets treated equally. You have superstars that get a little more slack, and you have B and C players that you hold a hard line against. And that's just the way life is, because life isn't always equal. It's certainly not fair. And so by applying some sort of static rule to every employee that 2 days a week, even if you give them the 2 days to pick, it's not going to work, because you're trying to fit everybody into a certain slot. Maybe because you have a really ridiculous lease you have to pay off and you want to justify it. I think what we as humans crave what we crave more than anything else is freedom, or at the very least the illusion of freedom.
Right.
So if you're going to force people to work 2 days in an office, I really like your thought process here. And it's the same one I have. That's candidly why I like it. You talk to people who needs to be in an office and who doesn't. Sometimes customer service, that needs to be in an office setting, right? I mean, I'm sure you'd agree with that.
Yeah.
It just depends. Sometimes they need to be in an office setting. Sometimes they don't. You need to look at your individual business, and then more importantly, look at the people you're serving.
Yeah.
What do your clients want and need? And then talk to people. I know it's a radical idea, but maybe talk to your employees. What works for them, what doesn't work for them. And
then measure
if you're going
it.
to speak, if you're going to speak in absolutes, or have absolute, then it's time to say you have to work in the office. That's the culture we want to build. I can get behind that because I can't argue against that.
Right.
If I'm company X and I want everybody in the office, and maybe it makes people less productive, then I'll hire people who are more productive in an office. That's the culture I want to build. You can't, to me, that's something that you can't argue against. I don't necessarily agree with it. I've learned to work from home. I still crave what you have. I'm jealous at times of what you have. You get to go to an office. You get to have human interaction. I miss that, but you make it work. Yeah. And so I think, again, trying to fit everybody, especially Zoom, I don't know how many people they employ, but fit everybody in this little box is very short-sighted, and it shows the lack of humanity. And you touched on this in your answer. It shows a lack of humanity for individual, not preferences, but individual skill sets, individual abilities, individual freedoms. And I think it's kind of short-sighted, just blanket statement like that.
And that's Bill Petrie, and he approves this message.
You're damn right I do. All right. Do you have a quick topic, or do you want to touch on that? Or you?
No, I think it's time for your exciting announcement.
I have a very exciting announcement. It is the long anticipated return of top 3, bottom 3. That's right. We've got top 3, bottom 3. What we're going to talk about today, Kirby, is entertainment streaming platforms. Okay. We're talking about streaming platforms, not live TV. So it's not going to be YouTube TV or Fubo or anything like that. Okay. The streaming services that seem to have multiplied exponentially over the last 5 years, and they have also exponentially increased their price over the past 5 years individually. Which would, and I'd like your responses to these as we go.
Okay, cool.
Do you want me to go through top 3 first or bottom 3? I think we should start with bottom 3, but I'll yield to you.
No, I agree.
All
I agree.
Number 3, the third worst streaming service in the history of streaming services is Peacock. I don't know what it is. I know it's owned by NBC, and I think the only reason anyone would get Peacock is because they want access to The Office. Kirby, what say you?
I that's a, when you said it, let me tell you that essentially when you said it, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that existed. Had no idea.
Exactly. Exactly.
No, that's what I got.
So Peacock is number 3. Number 2, Max. Man, it is the it is we have Max. By the way, the only one we don't have is Peacock on this entire 6 list. Max, terrible navigation. And one thing that bugs me, so we get Max through YouTube, our YouTube TV subscription.
Oh, okay.
It continually logs me out. And there's no scanning of the phone, like a QR code.
Okay.
It's always type in a password, which I hate doing. Is my right thumb is getting ridiculous amounts of exercise scrolling through the keyboard. Hey, real quick, side note, streaming services, lay your keyboard out like a keyboard we have on a desk. I'm tired of seeing A, B, C, D, E, F. No, lay it out like a freaking keyboard that we're all used to. It's annoying. Stop it now.
Yeah. So again, one of the things I love about you is you have strong and thoughtful opinions on everything. And so what I would say about this one, and I want to hear the rest of the list. My only pushback would be I don't watch a lot of Max, but I am often like impressed with the content, the specific content of Max. I'm like, oh, that's really good. That's really good. And like the winning times coming back, I'm like, okay, I want to dig in to watch that. So I do like their content.
Again, this is my list. This is not Kirby's list. So Kirby bears no shame in this list. This is all my fault.
Though Peacock does
the worst. The worst, it does. Excuse me. The worst of all of them, Kirby, Apple TV Plus. 1000% Apple TV Plus, and I'm going to tell you why. I have Apple TV Plus. Very limited content. The content they have is good, very good, but very limited content. Number 2, if you don't use it on an Apple device, if you use it on your LG TV, it is so buggy, and I believe it's intentionally so. Apple has a long and rich history of punishing you if you're not using an Apple device to use an Apple service. The other thing is when you pause a show, you've got about 45 seconds to resume it, or it pops out to the menu screen and you try to hit resume and it starts it over. So there's a constant, I've got to fast forward to find where I'm at. I really find that annoying. So that's Apple TV Plus, the absolute worst.
Yeah, I think part of it, I drive my interest in apps based on the content, and Ted Lasso is probably my favorite show in the last 20 years, and I'll pay for Apple TV just for that one. So now, and the other thing I would say is like, I haven't run into some of those issues. So I'd put Peacock way worse than that, but okay, sure list.
All right. All right. Hey, again, my list, so I can't be wrong, and I love that. So the worst streaming service of all time, Apple TV Plus. All right, let's go to the top 3. Shall we?
Okay. Sounds
Number
good.
3, Kirby, the third best streaming service, Hulu. That's right, Hulu or Hulu. Hulu, Kirby. It's great selection of content, amazing broad content, great original programming. And it's super cost effective. It is the lowest cost of all of the streaming services that I'm aware of. I might be a little wrong on that, but that's my belief. And just great content, easy navigation, great, super.
Love it. I know almost nothing about Hulu, so I'll have to take your word for it on this one. You said original content. I don't know what original content's on Hulu, so okay.
Only Murders in the Building comes to mind, which is fantastic with the genius that is Steve Martin. So
okay.
All right. Number 2, Disney Plus.
Okay. I had a feeling Disney Plus would be on one. Yeah.
One of the reasons they have so much beloved content. If you like the Marvel superhero movies, they've got all that. If you love Star Wars, like my Billy Hart does, they've got that. They've got The Simpsons. They've got every episode of The Simpsons on there. So they've got a really beloved content. And the resolution, it's all ultra HD. It's all upscaled into 4K. I love that. Great service, even though they're losing money and they're probably going to be out of business in 4 weeks. Still a great service. And they just raised their prices again by $4.
Yeah, literally just and so so what I'm realizing as you've done this, I love you doing this, by the way. Anytime you want to do this, I'm in. So what I am realizing is I value streaming platforms based on original content. I
Okay.
don't give a
There you go.
damn about the Simpsons reruns. I don't care. That's just not something I just don't care. But it, like, I've never watched The Mandalorian. That would be a reason for me to get. I don't have Disney Plus.
Yeah,
So,
I just turned off my screen. I just turned off my screen because Kirby upset me so much that he's not watched The Mandalorian. That's not the way. That is not the way.
Okay. But see, again, it's not been valuable enough for me to get that particular streaming service, and it's all based on the one or two that I watch the most. So YouTube TV is the one I watch the most, just because I can put it on and it's like TV. But one of the two that I watch the most is not going to be on your list at all, because you've only got one spot left, and it's all based on original content. So,
well, and again, and I get that, and I understand that. I respect that. Remember, this is not like live TV. This is not factoring in live TV streaming. Okay.
Yeah, understood.
That really disappoints me about The Mandalorian. I got to be honest with you. I don't have the words to effectively communicate,
and I don't have Disney Plus. So you don't have the words. I don't have Disney Plus.
All right, the number one best, most bestest, most belovedest, the awesomest streaming service is the Netflix, the much maligned Netflix, but they have such an amazing selection of content.
Yep.
Always producing new content. So I have a feeling Kirby's not going to disagree with me on this. Yep. It's an easy to navigate. God bless them. They have not changed their menu in 4 years that I'm aware of. And I love that. Sometimes I feel like these services change just because they want to change. Yeah. I don't love when I go to a streaming service or something that updates without any of my knowledge, and like, what? YouTube TV just did that, by the way, with how their library is constructed, like for recorded shows, and it's like, I don't want to learn this, but Netflix number one, bar none, binga banga boonga banga.
Zero issue with number one. Like, again, it would be really inconsistent of me if I didn't like Netflix, because original content, at least from my perspective, that's what I think of them. I don't go to watch a rerun of The Transporter. Like, I go to watch original content. And so otherwise I'm going to watch a rerun of Big Bang Theory on YouTube TV. Like, my point is, I'm going to a streaming service only to watch a specific thing that I can't get someplace else.
So you don't ever want to say, get on Paramount Plus, for example, or wherever else is housed, and watch maybe an Indiana Jones movie because it's a good movie and it just makes you feel good to watch something that you're familiar with. No, not
really. I already know how that ends.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So we're done with this podcast, but what we're not done with, I'll tell you who's not done doing something, and that's our good pals at Evans. They're not done doing everything they can to make your distributor life easier. That's right, kids. If you go to their Sage ratings, it's amazing what you see. It truly is. People talk about things like they're a pleasure to work with. It's always a great experience, and they're attentive to every detail. They really have a culture and an ethos of making your distributor life easier. So you want to learn more? Well, of course you do. Head over to our good friends Evans at evans-mfg.com on either your stationary or portable Google device. You will not be sorry you did, Kirby. I look forward to next week reviewing the Johnny Manziel documentary on Netflix with you.
Thanks, man.
That's right.